and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I am your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known for the last 40 years as the Money Lady, both nationally, internationally, and as close as your YouTube channel. I'm delighted today to bring to you an impressive array of African American men who have overcome tremendous odds to become successful, accomplished individuals. And you need to hear their stories. Why? Because you all know, as my frequent viewers, that my commitment is to bring the best out today. We live in terrible times. You all know this. Chaos, confusion, everything. And again, particularly as it relates in so many circumstances with African American men. And I'm here to bring you another side to that conversation, a side that you need to know and be aware of so that you will not be sucked in by the information, in my opinion, that is biased in so many cases and not accurate. So I'm excited about today's show and look forward to this town hall format so you can hear their stories. We've been talking about it in our previous show, and we will continue that dialogue. So have a seat, get comfortable, text and call your friends and tell them to listen in. Said Michelle Graves is doing it again. So again, I turn it over to my co-host, Bari Roberts. She has been patiently directing this show. She's out of Atlanta, and so you know she don't play. Here we go.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
A few months ago, I came to Michelle with an idea about talking to African American men. Their voices are rarely heard. Usually on television, when black men are shown, it's sports. They talk about sports. A lot of times, it's less favorable than that. They talk about crime. Most of the time, I did some research on this, and most of the time, that's how our men are shown. And you know, Michelle and I decided to collaborate on this, as she said, to show another side, to go deeper, to look closer, to look at real men living real lives with their real truths. And so, as part of this, I believe we've done interviews with some of the men you've seen. We've done up close and personal interviews. And on this show, we're going to do a town hall format that allows them to go further and to tell their stories on a wide range of things. So with that said, I'm going to let each one of the men introduce themselves.
My name is Bo Gaither.
William Brock.
Nate Tubbs.
Timothy Roberts.
Mark Chambers.
Reggie Willis.
Don Hudson.
And to be totally transparent, Timothy Roberts is my brother, okay? If you see, you're going to see the name Roberts twice, and he's my brother, okay? One of the things that I think is important that we talk about to start is it's always in the news lately, gentlemen, about the health of black men and how in every disease category, whether it's cancer, whether it's heart, whether it's dialysis, all the major things that are going on, that black men, the disparity of care that black men receive, the outcomes in terms of death or permanent disability that happens to black men because of the system, not doing due diligence in dealing with African American men and their health problems. So I have a question for you guys. How do you take care of yourselves? And anyone can answer at any time.
Right, please feel free. No pecking order.
Very carefully. Very carefully. I have to look out for me.
Yes.
And I have to set the example of looking out for me, for my sons, my grandsons. I don't miss any doctor's appointments. And if it's something that I need to see a doctor about, I'm readily available. I will make myself do it because the stigma has been that black men don't do this. And that's basically, it's really not true, but a lot of times it is because we are underserved in the health industry.
Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yes, I'd like to kind of weigh in on that. And I totally agree with you, Brother Tim.
So one of the things that I had discovered in taking care of my health was I had two fears. One of them was the fear of the cost, right? I was always fearful about the cost. And then the second one was the fear of the unknown, not knowing. So fortunate for myself, by being a veteran, all of those stigmas got dispelled because it didn't cost for me to go get my checkups. It didn't cost to find out what was going on with my body. So I thought that was a great contribution in terms of taking care of my health, because those fears were already lowered. I didn't have to worry about the cost, and I didn't have to worry about when I go see the doctor, being afraid about what the ailments were going to be.
Well, for me, being a military veteran, both Navy/Army, pretty much everything that he just said, same with me. I don't have to be concerned a lot about the cost. I've only gone one surgery since I've been involved in it, and the cost was minimal. And so that's a big factor. The other thing is that scheduled appointments, whether it's blood drawing, regular checkups, I ensure that I make those. I don't put those off for anything. If I have to reschedule, I make sure I get back in there in a timely manner, get it done. Fear is a big factor, especially with healthcare. Sometimes even having a certain level of knowledge anatomically about your body and everything. When someone says something about the big C word, it automatically strikes fear into the strongest people. And it did that for me. But the thing about it is to be proactive in your own health care, ensuring that you research things, you ask questions, and also you try to do the things that the doctor asks you to do. Now, the mode or method that you use, it could be natural. If something's working for you, fine. Always check in with them. If you want to do something your way, I suggest that you run it by them. And sometimes you may not agree. If they don't, don't take that. I think I'm going to try it at least. And it may do you some good. You just never know. High blood pressure, diabetes, prostate cancer, heart disease, you name it. And so addressing those issues and staying on top of your own personal health care is very important.
I agree.
Anybody else want to comment on the health? Mr. Bo?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I was one of those guys scared of going to the hospitals for things that was going on with me until I had a heart attack. And my daughters was there when I had it. And my wife had my daughter sneak and call the ambulance. And it took me to the hospital. And when I got there, I found out that they got me there just in time. And I always been scared of hospitals and the medicine and whatever. But after that day, the last one they took me to, I started doing what a man should do. I started getting checkups, going to appointments, taking my medicine, and I'm still afraid of it, but we must do it if we want to be here. We must do it. We gotta let the fear go. I'm still scared, but I try to block that out and just go see the doctor, and whatever he tell me, I just try to roll with it and go on to be better, doing what I'm supposed to do.
I have a question, and because I keep hearing this, and of course growing up with many males in my family, what is the fear? Can somebody elaborate and tell me from a man's perspective, what is the fear factor? What happens? And I'm going to give an illustration. My brother, who you know, almost lost his foot from neglect from diabetes. And it was just a random thing where he asked his sisters, is there something wrong? And we were like, oh my God, he's not going to be around. So he has since tightened up his game. I'm proud of him. But I'm trying to understand, because I hear it in the dialogue. What is the fear? Tell me.
One thing is trust. Men have the trust factor, and we've heard stories about, such as, I'm a veteran. I utilize the veteran program, the health care and things as well. But we've heard the horror stories over the years.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, as to going different places where you should go. One thing that I do realize is this: all doctors are not good doctors. All hospitals are not good hospitals. You know, you have to do your research. You have to, again, as it's been said, being proactive in your well-being. But also at the same time, in being proactive in your well-being, you must understand that you're not being proactive. That means that you're being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
You're being very selfish. You got family, you got people that care about you. And if you want to be there for them, then you have to be proactive in your well-being. This is all part of the example that you're establishing with them, to be proactive in your well-being. You know, sometimes you have to research the best possible place where you can get the best type of care. You know, I've had to go, when I had cancer, I can remember they didn't have certain things at the hospital here in Cincinnati. Proton therapy, they didn't have that. But I found that they had it up at the cancer treatment centers up in Chicago. That made me kind of wary. Well, anyway, long story short, I went there because I trusted that. And that's it. It's all about your comfort level, your trust, building your relationship with your doctors, your caregivers. That's what's important.
That's significant. Go on.
I think along with that, in a word, the fear is the unknown.
But isn't that life?
It's the unknown.
Okay.
In a word, it's the unknown.
Okay.
Fear is the unknown.
Okay.
And
Is it the unknown about the disease? Is it the
It
unknown
doesn't-
about the hospital, the doctor, or
doesn't
all
matter.
of it?
all of it. doesn't
Okay,
matter.
got it.
It's the
Okay.
unknown.
The unknown.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I appreciate with the word trust that came into that. Now, when I was coming up, not only was the trust the factor, but racism was the factor.
Yes.
There's a certain amount of health care that black African men could not only afford, but racism separated them from good health care. So what happened through the upbringings, we started to diagnose ourselves. Oh, that's just indigestion, or oh, that's just heartburn. Just like you just said, in the nick of time. I can remember the same thing. I had a heart attack, and they said the same thing to me when they put that stent in my heart in '96. You made it in here just in time. But I spent about 4 or 5 months diagnosing myself.
Ooh,
Yeah, saying it's just heartburn, Anything because I did have a fear and a trust factor about healthcare, the level of healthcare. And it exists in America, and we can't be ignorant to it or have it in a denial factor. Yes, there's a level of healthcare. You can afford certain levels of healthcare, or just naturally, based on your color, the certain kind of healthcare you get.
Right.
Well, there's the other side of it, and it's, you know, take it back to my father's generation. We're not that far removed from being the experiment.
Exactly.
Speak on it.
You know, we're going to test this certain type of syphilis, or this type of gonorrhea, or see what this form of tuberculosis was doing, and they used our fathers and our uncles.
They did.
So we're not that far from that. So that has also been indelled into the mind.
Yes.
That, you know, hey, I didn't go to Tuskegee, but hey, I still feel like, you know, when I go to the doctor, you know, what is this you shooting with me?
Right.
You know, what are you putting in me? Oh, it's just a vaccine. Right.
Because there is a long history.
A long history.
A long history of African Americans, males and females, being used as guinea pigs
Right.
to try stuff off. The military has a long history of, gassing, using gas to test using black soldiers in
Subjects.
segregated armies.
That's the subject.
And,
That's right.
and the same thing with, as you mentioned, Tuskegee and all the syphilis years and years, and the government was complicit. And so now, and the researchers and the doctors, and now I get the fear of, what are you doing? What does this mean? Am I a guinea pig? So,
Right.
yeah, it's a good point. Yes, sir.
One thing about medicine is this. All medicine do not work for black folks that might work for white folks.
Yes.
It's been proven, medically proven,
DNA.
and that. So, there's a lot of experimenting that is going on. There's a lot of different research that is going on. But we have to be mindful of the fact that certain things do not work well for you, that might not work well for you, that might work well for them. So we have to sit there, be mindful of certain things and start asking the right questions so that you'll be able to move forward in your well-being.
That's very, very interesting. Did you have any thoughts?
Yes, I think me being an athlete for over 30 years, and I always was the type of person I stayed in shape. And up to 2 years ago, I was diagnosed as a diabetic. And because I stopped training and stuff like that. But what I done learned doing research is, you got to learn your intake, the things that we put in our bodies. And it's more important education. We got to educate ourselves about our health.
That's right.
And right now, I'm learning that we eat all the wrong foods.
Absolutely.
We eat all. We had breakfast this morning. I was just telling them, I'm like, food just don't taste the same no more.
No.
Yeah.
They come up with fake meat and all that old type of stuff. So I've been doing a lot of education on, educating myself on becoming a vegan. Start being more protective of what I put in my body. But I think with everybody, it's more about education now. Educate yourself about your problems. And I go to the doctor all the time. They keep telling me ain't nothing wrong with you. I go so much, they cancel my appointments. But I keep making them because I want to know. Because if I know, I can deal with the problem now before it get worse. And I think important for me to say to people is just educate yourself about your bodies. What you eating, what you ain't eating. Stay away from pop, stay away from this. And I'm a strong pop drinker. I'm working on it though, but it's hard. It's hard. I love me some Mountain Dew. And they say that's the worst pop.
That's the worst. You will die.
I agree with you.
But we got to make changes. You know what I mean? And I'm trying. It ain't the easiest thing in the world. Since I've been diagnosed with diabetes, I was 320 pounds. I lost 80 pounds since then. Because I don't believe in taking medicine.
Right.
But lately, I've been taking my medicine every day.
Right.
I got a good friend of mine. Did you take your medicine? I'm taking it now. We've been moving over the weekend. I'm like, I ain't take it yet, but I will take it. I took it at 9 o'clock last night. But I am learning that when they prescribe you with medicine, you're supposed to take it every day at the same time in order for it to be effective, to my understanding.
That's right. And this, I'm sorry.
No, okay. No, I was just going to ask if you all felt, as black men, the need for self-advocacy as you look at the healthcare system, which is you have to define what works for you and then do like Brother Brock did and find the fit.
Right.
And then push for what's going to work for you.
Right. Because everybody's different.
Everybody is different.
Everybody's body is different.
Everybody's bodies. Anybody have any experience in terms of having to advocate for yourself?
That's all the time.
Oh, wow.
That's all the time.
Every moment.
It's like I said, I go to the doctor, they cancel my appointments, keep telling me ain't nothing wrong with me. But I had a $2 million insurance policy for over 18 years. And they canceled me as soon as they found out my AC1 was, they didn't have no score.
Right.
So I'm working on that. I'm checking it, doing the necessary things I'm supposed to do. Because, we choose not to do certain things. And we got to learn, we got to get in line and do what's right if we choose to live.
So recently, Michelle, just to kind of weigh in on the question that was asked, about 3 months ago, I went in and about 6 months ago, I went in and my A1C was 10.
Oh.
Now, that is off the chart. I'm a diabetic. That's off the chart.
That's off the
Right.
chart.
So, and a lot of it had to do because I was eating processed food. 90% of the food that's distributed throughout all of these distribution stores, Kroger's, whatever, 90% of it is processed. So I was dealing with some injuries to my back. As a matter of fact, I had 2 of my discs had dislocated. They degenerated. 2 of my discs degenerated. They just went somewhere. Nobody knows where they go, so they just correct them. There's no reason why your back or your spine does certain things. Nevertheless, they could not operate on me until my A1C got down to 7. right? This is high risk. Any of those type of numbers that we're talking about, whether it's your PSA or your A1C or anything that has something to do with the function of your body, if it's over a high rate, they will not operate because it's a high risk. So I had to get it down to 7. Now, I like that piece that you talked about, the advocating for yourself and what you use. So they had me on all these diabetic medicines, right? But what I did share with them is that we had went to Jamaica about 4 months prior. They don't have medicine over there.
No.
So they have teas, herbs, roots, all of these natural, what do you want to call them?
Remedies.
Yeah, remedies or whatever you want to call them. They have all these natural remedies, right, to help them with their issues. So I bought all of that. So when I was using them, my A1C went down to 6.5.
Oh,
I need that list.
6.5. And here's the weird thing about it. My doctors and them said they wanted me to give praise to their medications, right? So I did. I was like, yeah, I'm taking that medication and I'm doing the right thing and everything like that, right? So they said, okay, good, we'll schedule you for the operation. But what I didn't share with them is that I was using the ginger root, that I was using these particular teas, that I was using everything that's for diabetic from what we had bought in Jamaica, right? So I was able to do the operation. The operation was successful. And so what I'm finding out is that, modern medicine, yes, it helps, but the natural herbs that God has put on this planet, you know what, outweigh all of this, all these medicines that they talk about.
Right.
See, that makes me wonder, okay? Because first of all, we've always known
Okay.
certain things, but we've also always ignored.
Right.
It's all about choices, okay? We don't take the responsibility to make the right choices for whatever reasons, okay? We know the bad that we do,
Oh my
and we know the wrong that we're
Get rid of
supposed
the
to
fight
do,
on
Right.
okay? So the thing is that in advocating for your well-being on all levels, first of all, you better up there, I always suggest you better start loving yourself first. You love yourself so that you can sit up and advocate for yourself. The doctor's only ever going to deal with you as far as the standard level of care, which is very typical. First of all, I'm not typical. I'm a very special man. So therefore, when I talk to doctors, when they talk to me, upon the questions that they ask me, I know they haven't read my chart.
Yeah.
So I have to run them out the room. You better learn something about me. Then you'll come back in the room and you'll have a different set of questions to ask me. Then we have a decent conversation. See, the thing is we have to love ourselves to challenge our health care providers to do for you what needs to be done. You cannot just be typical. You got to be, the standard level of care is the legal term that they use. And you have to be mindful of those words.
Don, did you want to comment on this?
Yeah,
and we're going to move on.
Just curious. I was just listening. And Mark, he's diabetic. Nate's diabetic. I'm diabetic. Anybody else?
Me.
Michelle?
I'm pre-diabetic.
I'm type
It
2.
looks like out of the
Exactly. My
9 people that are here,
My point.
at least 7 is diabetic.
Yeah.
Keep living in
And that-
America.
But see, that's where we must learn what a diabetic is, pre-diabetes. That has a lot to do with our bodies as we're getting older.
Right.
Tell me about
Okay, our bodies do not process things the way it used to.
Nate.
So
Nate was what, 3? What did you say you were?
I was 320 pounds.
He was 320.
exactly.
I was 278 at my biggest.
205.
205.
I was an over-the-road truck driver eating everything out of a can.
Yeah, process.
About what did you
Pilot
weigh?
meat. I'm 215 pounds. I'm 205 now.
Yeah.
My weight wasn't fluctuating. It was that poor diet, spam, potted meat,
choices that we make.
It's very important. It's very important that we be concerned with what we put in our bodies.
Right.
I'm getting better.
I'm down to 204, 206 right now.
and
most of us have lost weight. You lost it. I lost it.
Tremendous.
the thing
But
about
we
it
all
was,
need a workout program, though.
I was gonna say
We all need a workout program.
the
But
thing
we
about it
also need the
was-
right people in our lives
right.
Give us the extra
to keep us
motivation.
focused on
Right.
where we need to be, because we being men, we do things a little differently.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's right. Because before I'll put the green vegetables in me, I'll just pull up to a fast food, right, grab something to eat, and call it a night. Now I'm learning, hey, no, you need potatoes, you need sweet potatoes, you need greens, you need all of those different food components outside of just a burger here and fries there.
Right.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate you guys speaking on this, and Don, you made my point of what I was saying, how the numbers, you got 9 people sitting here and
And 7 diabetics.
are diabetic, and I've heard you guys talk about surviving heart attacks. How many of you have had heart attacks or have had heart problems?
1, 2,
2. Okay.
3.
How many cancer survivors?
1, 2,
3.
Wow, 3. See?
3.
Okay.
Wow.
And a group this small, for it to be a third of the group, that's a high number. Our community is suffering.
Yes,
We're suffering
yes.
from lack of knowledge.
Yes.
We're suffering from lack of advocacy.
Right.
We're suffering from fear when it comes to health. But I really appreciate, this feedback has been
I
tremendous.
think
Would you agree?
wonderful. It
And,
really has
and
been.
hearing it from your perspective. But I'm going to move on because I have other questions.
Well, I did want to say something about our community, right? In our community, we don't have the proper diet in our communities. We got the liquor stores, we got you can get the stuff to roll your weed, you can get the alcohol to kill you, and you can get the snacks. That's what they have incorporated in our neighborhoods.
Yep.
We
By
have to go
design.
to other neighborhoods to get healthy diets, foods, medication, everything. But in the African American neighborhoods, we have the most poorest resources, the most poorest resources to give our kids as well as ourselves a good start.
The government refers to that as food deserts.
Food deserts.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in most metropolitan and rural as well.
Yes.
Rural is really worse.
Right.
I live in Atlanta, and there are food deserts in Atlanta.
Right.
Okay, in the
Yes.
African American
Yes.
neighborhoods. But you go out to the country, and it's worse. The difference is those people out there grow their vegetables.
Right.
They don't have to. They grow their own foods, and they know it's organic and it's not processed and
Right.
it's not GMO. But I do want to move on, and thank you so much for bringing that up, Mark. I'm going to change the subject to something that I see every day, and I have a question about. What do you guys think about the young boys or young men? And now I'm seeing older men walking around with these pants hanging off. I have a question. I've been wanting to
I got a
ask
good
somebody
answer for that.
Give it to us. I'd
Well,
like to know.
You got more followers than you do leaders nowadays. I came up in an era where I believe in taking the lead. But what I see now, and I speak to a lot of kids all the time, learn how to stand alone, learn how to be a man and not follow your friend. That's with crime and everything else. They do what they see other people do. And what they got to do nowadays is, choose not to be a follower. I talk to my grandkids all the time. But their opinion about us, we old.
That's what they call it.
They say we old, we don't know what's going on. But what they don't understand, the game ain't never changed.
That's
right.
You just got different players. You know what I mean? And consequences that changed a lot on their actions. And I think more so they need to be educated about the crimes that they commit. Not just, anybody can go out there and kill somebody, but at the end of the day, can you stand doing 20 years? Then what they don't get is the information when you go to jail. You got to worry about somebody trying to rape you and all that old type of stuff. They gang raping guys now.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous now.
They're picking their heroes from zeros, basically.
Right.
Right.
Ooh, I love
Good
that term.
stuff.
These kids nowadays don't even want to work.
Yeah.
Right.
I got a business, can't get nobody to come to work.
Yeah. They picking their heroes from zeros. Guys who are hustlers or whatever the case may be. Just got the big car with the rims. Matter of fact, it don't have to be a big car. It could be an old car with some $2,000 rims on it.
Flying up and down the road.
And they become the heroes
They got the wrong perception about life.
Yeah,
But,
that's right.
but can I interrupt and just simply say I read motivational quotes every morning during my prayer time, but Helen Keller said something many years ago about the development of character. Because when you look at the YouTubes and the Reels and everything, I was watching last night, and I just see people, when you said zeros, I could not believe the absence of character, the absence of maturity that for grown people, what? How are you going to survive out here when the trials and the storms come, because they're going to come? How do you make it? It's a black male. How do you make it today?
They need education. I'm a strong believer in lack of information. I'm looking to start a podcast called Success is a Choice, where I funnel information to the public, especially these young kids. These kids don't even want to go to school no more.
Yeah.
I got a granddaughter just graduated. She said she's going to be doing makeup.
Esoteric.
Yeah,
Esthetician.
I'm like,
Well,
do you got a plan B?
Yeah.
Because I've been in the hair business for over 25 years. I'm like, you got to be a people's person in order to do hair. You got to be sociable. And I say, you 18 years old, and I don't think you sociable, in my opinion. I say, you be in the car with me for 2 hours on the phone.
Yeah. See,
You know?
that's their life.
But I think that technology nowadays done messed the world up for our next generation, because they can't figure out a problem without going to the cell phone.
Yeah.
Right.
It just don't make no sense.
That's what their answer is.
You know,
Well,
Their answer is the
they
cell
can't figure it out.
One of the
They're not
reasons,
trying.
sorry.
They
One
don't
of
wanna
the
think.
reasons
But-
I ask, you guys to come here and be smithy and, be present is that what I think, you said leaders,
Yes.
I think they're missing examples, examples, and
They're not
that's
the
where
proper
you
role
all
models.
come in, and I want you all to talk about that, the examples that you are, and you know that you need to be for these young men, because as Don said, they're following zeros, they're following YouTube or TikTok or whatever, as you said, all of this, external. And now some of that's not even real either because of the AI.
Right.
So it's even more made up. It's even more distance from the humanity that we have.
But
I want you guys to talk about it.
But let me speak on this.
Yes.
I think it starts at home.
man.
I'm in the Avondale area with a proper business. I picked up a 2-year-old kid walking down Ren Road in the middle of the street. This has been about 3-4 weeks ago. Then I held the baby for about 2 hours. I called the police. Police come an hour later. Then the little girl come once I posted on Facebook, and everybody posted on Facebook, and cussed me out. I said, I hope they lock you up. I said, who gonna not miss their kids? And it's been 2 hours.
There's
As an older fella,
Go ahead.
No, wait.
As an older fella, I can remember certain things in growing up. We had community. We had family. You even had a saying that,
About that village.
you had individuals, it was called pulling one's coattail in the life. Older men would tell young guys, they would talk to them about real truths out here.
Right.
They would even tell them the right way to do wrong.
That's
Okay.
true.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, we have to understand that was because we had a different sentencing back then. Okay? We had different sentencing. We had professional criminals. They only done the type of crime because they knew what kind of time they would do. Okay? But things changed. See, the thing is things changed. The disciplines was pushed out the door. Family no longer started existing. It deteriorated. The responsibility to one another, it deteriorated. See, back in the late 60s, my barometer I used in the 60s had everything to do with the truant officers. When they closed down the truant officers, that's when they started 241 kids. Also in the late 60s, let's understand, they said they pushed the heroin into our communities. Why they pushed the heroin in our communities? Because it had everything to do with the dollars that remained in our communities. We didn't have to go out of our communities.
Right.
Period. For anything. a lot of money. We had our own doctors, we had our own attorneys, we had everything in our communities. We even had museums, things of interest, always in our communities, in the areas that we lived in, downtown, Walnut Hills, Avondale. The thing is that, again, back to the education, back to the choices. Where do you want to be? When we were going to school, we had children's theater, the symphony, public schools. That's where you went. That's what they did.
Cultures.
They don't have, yes, exactly.
Culture.
There's things we don't do any longer. But also at the same time, back in the 60s, it was females that said, I'm not going to raise my kids the way mama and daddy raised us. Females said that. Guys were so busy being distracted with the drugs, the newfound monies, all these things that was put in place to keep us distracted, to lose focus on family.
Yes.
And this is the results of it today.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yes,
But
I agree.
But the bigger picture is, we need to figure out, what the bigger picture is. What is this leading to? Once we
solution to
discover
the
what it's
problem.
leading to, okay, we can work on that, basically from the basement to try to stop it from happening. Because right now, if things continue on the path that they're going on, yeah,
It's leading to
I want to hear from Reggie.
yeah.
It's leading to self-destructive behavior. We have the role models and things that you talked about. One of the things that I developed for myself, and I mentioned this last week, I developed a personal code for myself and a personal creed, how I would conduct myself at any time, whether I'm in public or anywhere. The example I would set for other people, other kids, especially my own, because my kids are my legacy. And the thing that I'm concerned about is, you mentioned it, they don't want to listen to us because they think we're old and we don't know anything. But if you're smart, son, you'll listen simply because we've been here a lot longer. You haven't. We done been through the stuff that you're going through. So you need to settle down. You need to listen. You need to pick the right role models. Don't pick the zeros to be your heroes. And start doing something. Get your head in some books. Learn where you are. We're disposable. As black people, our entire mass, our nation, we're a nation within a nation. We're an exceptional people, and we're disposable. We own nothing. We have no wealth. Everybody that has the wealth controls everything we do. Social constructs,
Power and control.
engineered through social media and everything else. It's going to continue until we wake up and start saying, wait a minute, this is not right. Everything that's been done is because of the system. Racism, we're not racist. We didn't develop all this stuff.
Right.
We can't be racist. Every time you start talking about doing something for your own people, they say, oh, that's reverse racism. No. We don't own nothing. We don't have the wealth. We don't control nothing. Okay? Entertainment, sports, a few other things. But those are our biggest assets right now. We have $280 billion in disposable income annually. But everybody else is living off our income. We live off one. Everybody else is living off two, because we're going outside our communities. Money doesn't bounce between us before it goes our way.
Exactly.
It goes straight out to them.
Exactly.
And then everybody's like, oh gosh, when are we ever going to develop ourselves and get to the point we're not, until you stop engaging in self-destructive behavior. And you start listening to the people who know, or you start putting your head in some books and start reading. Okay, they've hid everything from us because we don't read.
You're correct.
So,
And then when it comes down to it, they've re-edited
There you go.
the stuff. They have re-edited the stuff that we were brought up with. My father,
They made up the
I brought home a book. When I was in the 7th grade. And my father made me read that book 5 or 6 times till I got it. And it was the spook that sat by the door.
That's right.
Classic.
He made me read that book.
Classic.
He said, well, what do you think about it? And I tell him, you didn't get it. He made me read it again. What do you think about it? I expanded a little more. You still ain't got it. He just kept quizzing me on it. And then finally, I got it. And he said, what do you think about it? What is the book saying? I said, the book is saying that I have to keep myself within myself. But I should never let them know that I'm smarter than they are. That way they can't use me and I won't use myself.
Right.
Okay.
And these kids nowadays, as you were saying, they don't listen, but they said, hey, OG, man, how come you do this and how come you do that? And I was like, hey, you'll never be an OG because you use yourself. You play yourself cheap. You go for the moment, not the longevity. You know, you
Good stuff.
won't do
Good stuff.
anything. You won't do anything for those that you've created, as far as your children and the love and all that stuff, until you do you. But you do you first, and damn everybody else.
Good
And
stuff.
that's the backwards way of going out.
Good stuff.
Do you have a comment, Bo?
My growing up was a lot different from these guys. You know, I lived with my father. Father raised us, but from a kid to a man, I never really knew where my father was from. I never knew nothing about him, and lived with him all my life. I had brothers. My brothers never taught me nothing. I have a 6th grade education, and when I talk, I come from downtown, and when people talk to me and I tell them if I say I don't never drink, they don't believe me. If I never said I smoke weed, they don't believe me. If I say I never drink coffee, they don't believe me, because from the 6th grade till now, from a kid leaving the 6th grade, I never done none of that in the ghetto. I never had a job, but I still never smoked weed. At my age, I never drank, none of that. And they look at me like it's unreal. It's because I knew I didn't have education to make it on. So I had an old man, I call him my godfather, he taught me something. He said, I'd rather see you penny wise than ever nickel slick. I didn't know what he meant by that. And then he said, you keep on growing, you're gonna fit daddy's britches. I never knew what he meant by that till I started having kids young. And I started wearing bigger shoes and needing to do things. But when I tell my grandkids my life and stories, that I come from the ghetto of ghettos, wood tears everywhere. And I hung in the street all my life. I never was a working man, never. I refused to work. And I tell them that I didn't smoke weed and I didn't do that. And I used to tell them, because you ain't gotta do what everybody do. I'm a self-made person.
Yes, you are.
Definitely.
And I'm not proud of it, but everything I own, he tell you, I got from the street, everything. I'm not a guy that was born with a silver spoon or none of that. Everything that I did, I got from the street. And so I'm so lucky to get the wife that I've got, for I can sit down and I'm all right. Because she made sure to put me in places and things where we're all right. My kids will be all right. So I just have never been a follower of other people's, because I taught myself, and everything I learned from people's, because I couldn't read or write.
Right.
I listened, and everything that I heard that I liked, I kept it, and everything I didn't like, I let it go.
Right.
That's why the streets didn't get me. They got me for a minute to get some money to get the stuff that I accumulated, but I had a plan when I was in the street. I didn't come out the street and ain't got nothing for my kids.
Okay.
Hey.
And
Yeah.
Yes, you're talking.
That's
Like
powerful.
you said about your plan.
That is
Yeah.
powerful.
Got a plan.
Having a plan.
Plan.
Did you see that?
I
Yes.
heard that.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
so powerful. Yes, sir.
Before we move on, or if we move on, could you repeat that question that started this dialogue?
I asked, the question really was about the young boys and the clothes and their dress and their
Right.
attitude. And I
Right.
just saw it progressing, because I started seeing older men wearing the pants hanging,
Okay.
hanging down
just
or whatever.
follow.
Great.
But that was the question.
Great. So
Yes, sir.
as we begin to share the dialogue, what I heard a lot of good stuff, but I heard the main ingredient missing, God. So let's talk a little
about
bit
it.
about
Let's
that.
talk about
Yeah,
it.
let's talk a little bit about
the
that.
Father.
Yes, let's talk about that. So in all of these experiences, I'm not disqualifying that God wasn't in it. God just wasn't mentioned. So I want to talk a little bit about God in my life and my relationship. So I grew up in the church. I grew up in the church, and I strayed away from the church. So even though I didn't wear saggy pants, I still continued the saggy pants behavior. In other words, you couldn't tell me nothing because I knew something. Ain't been on this planet 19 summers, ain't been on this planet 11 summers, but you can't tell me nothing because I knew something. And there was always this deep down rooted consciousness that kept telling me when the difference between right and wrong. Didn't matter what I experienced, didn't matter what I did, there was always a conviction that you were either doing right or you were doing wrong. So I want to believe that for just the believers, because if you believe, you have this conscious, the difference between right and wrong. So when I see this social behavior for the young men, and I see it for men that have gotten older, I have to first take a look at me. And I know my record ain't squeaky clean. So even though I didn't wear saggy pants or I didn't, act out from a social media status, I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of, and I thank God. I thank God that He brought me out. And He put me back into the service mode where now my relationship with God has gotten much closer. It's funny when you get in the fourth quarter, how all of a sudden you know God, right? And I can't speak for everybody else. I'm just talking about me. Fourth quarter, now I want to have this better relationship with God because I want to be able to say or at least feel in my heart that will be my next transition. That will be my next transition.
I don't mean to cut you off, but what made you start doing wrong?
No.
Wait a minute.
I don't want to get distracted.
Wait. I don't want you to get distracted.
Okay, great. But then please don't distract me.
What I want to do is let's get to the foundation. Because everything, we always talk about fixing stuff. And we always talk about fixing stuff starting from the middle. We got to go to the foundation. Okay? Wait a minute.
Well, Brock, if you ask me to answer something, can I answer?
No.
Okay, let me just be quiet.
It's a question I set you up for.
Yeah, I can tell.
Okay,
Let's
because
go.
in the first doggone place, we all have choices. Just like you said, right from wrong. Our consciousness. What made us go that way when we knew the right we were supposed to do? What made us go the other way? What was our distractions? See, I grew up very fortunate. But I saw pimps, players, and hustlers. Okay? I saw the preachers. I saw certain little things. I was very conscious of all the wrong I do and the choices that I made. I can't sit up there and say, so-and-so made me do it. I can't say that because my father was doing this or not doing this or that and the other. I made a conscious choice. See, I do a Thinking Heirs program, and that's one thing that I'm always up there very adamant about is the choices that we make from the very beginning. See, one thing when we talk about God did not stutter. There's a life road and there's the death road. He didn't say no ifs, ands, and buts about this. It's all about life. Where did we begin to go wrong and why? Yes, sir.
Okay,
that's what I want to know.
And that's good stuff. That's very good stuff. So I like that because that gave me an opportunity to reflect. You know what I found out? Who said doing the right thing had to feel good? So in that thought process, it's easier to take the low road than the high road. So that would be the answer to that question. See, it's easier to follow than to lead. So it's easier. It's easier to, when you don't have a structural leader or a strong constitution, it's easier to do those things that we're talking about. And you're right. Society has already statistically dictated this behavior. You're right. So it's easier to make the easy money. Here, instead of go to school, let's sell dope. It's easier to take the low road than the high road because I don't have a strong constitution and I don't have strong leaders. So, once again, the mind is based on experiences. Everything that we do is based on our experiences.
What were you attracted to?
I was attracted to the low road. That's right, the
Man.
flash, the cash.
My man.
Yes.
My man.
See, and it's easy when you don't have a strong constitution. Okay? Here's an example. Don't do this, don't do this. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Get outside, forget all about that. Right? And follow the low road.
Exactly.
Right? You know, so the mind doesn't have a lot of structural constitution because you're right, it started in the home. That's right. And you would listen to your parents in the home. Now, it's great when that stuff follows you. You're right. Hey, Mom, you know, in the back of your head, oh, that's right, Mama said don't. Yeah, okay. Daddy said don't. That's great. But in the real time and in the real moments, yeah, a lot of my decisions was based on environment, popularity, and it's just easier.
You know what's interesting to me? I'm sorry.
No,
What's interesting to me is that in my household growing up, there was not a lot of religion or the mention of God.
Right.
I knew what that entity was supposed to be. I saw the picture hanging on the wall, what it was supposed to look like. My mother was a disciplinarian, okay? I wouldn't have gone against her for anything. I never disrespected my mother or anything, but I was not in the church. I was introduced to the church in the wrong way. Go across the street and sit in there Easter Sunday, you know. So the only time my exposure was to religion was you go across the street, you sit in there. Well, Mom, where are you at? You're not in there with me. So how are you gonna like push me towards something that you can't show me, teach me, at least monitor me and guide me through it? So I developed a different outlook on it. I don't believe in religion. First of all, I think it's controlling.
It is.
It is
designed and
controlling.
developed to control people. Too many people have died in the name of religion. I am a spiritual person. I believe that there's a higher entity, something that's controlling a lot of things that goes on. There's energy, all kind of stuff flopping around out there. A lot of things in my life couldn't have happened or wouldn't have happened. It happened without me doing anything. I said, how did this happen? But I'm not going to totally give up myself over to someone else to tell me how to live and how to be nice. I don't need you to tell me how to be a good person. I know how to be a good person. I know how to treat people.
Exactly.
And if you're serving your country and you're sitting out in the foxhole, you don't have the chaplain to come out there and sit the foxhole with you. You can't make it to the church. The church is going to be in you if that's how you do it. But you just have to develop your own personal way of living and make it a good way to walk.
Exactly.
So you can just help. And you know, I think Muslims, they look at, what did you do? What did you do for people while you were here on this earth? Okay, man, and they have all kind of stuff. I've never read the Quran or anything, but hey, that's you. You do you. That's great. But I know right now that God, whatever form that entity is in, that if I walk right, then who knows? I'm probably going to hell. I don't know. Okay. But I know there's serial killers out there. And if you tell me that a person can kill 80 people and all of a sudden he can walk in there and say, I want to confess.
Okay.
And you're forgiven automatically. All the stuff that you've done, taking lives and everything, and then you're going to walk and you're going to be up here? You're going to be wherever it is that yeah.
Wait a minute. You're right. He can be forgiven.
Salvation is at hand.
But that does not mean that he's still not going to hell.
Right. Salvation is at hand.
That's right. Part two.
That's all. Yeah, salvation is all at hand.
Yeah.
So just like you said, you got to pick up the book. Guess what the book is called? The Bible.
Oh my goodness.
So if you, this is just for believers. Just believe me, guys. I'm not trying to I'm not recruiting right now. I'm just sharing my experience. Okay, I'm just sharing my experience. So if you believe in God and you love God, then you will follow what God is telling you to do. Now, whether you believe or not, that's on you. I'm just, like I said, I'm just sharing my experience. So one of the structural beliefs that I have today is that it ain't about me. Nope. It was never about me, right? It was about my ability to worship God and to serve my fellow man. See, if I can't do nothing for you, then I probably need to get out the way. So that's just who I am, and that's just what I believe. Now, before, I was a taker. Y'all know me. I was a taker, right? If I couldn't get you, then I wouldn't have nothing to do for you. So for me to sit here amongst you men and be proud that my life has turned around. to confess that I was a taker, but now I'm a server. That means the world to me. That means the world to me. I came up here on the premise of exactly what's happening now. To be able to just share the fact that my life has turned around.
You and I have some history.
Yes, we have some history. We have some history. We have some history. We have some history. With you two guys, I'm praying that our relationship continues.
You know
That's
what,
my
Brother
attitude.
Chambers?
Absolutely.
That's one of the reasons why you was chosen to come up here.
All right.
Okay, in the first doggone place. It's simply because, as I spoke to you the other day, you have a story. As we all have stories.
Yes.
But also at the same time, a lot of times our stories are very distorted based upon how we feel.
Exactly.
About how we feel, how we want to justify. You know, one thing that when we talk about, again, religion is about power and control. Everything's about power and control. About power and control. It's up to you how much of power you relinquish to those things that impact upon you. You know, when we talk about our disciplines, we talk about our children, we talk about our homes. One of the reasons why our homes are so out of tact is because we're not being men, we're not being mothers, because of lack of disciplines.
Yes.
We keep saying okay to stuff. We look at TV, we look at the media.
Right.
We have, as older people, we've seen them turn right into wrong, wrong into right. And we keep saying okay to it.
Right.
And it ain't okay.
We keep saying okay to it.
Nate, and then Tim.
Right.
Do you have a comment, Nate?
Yes. What I'm seeing now, and you know, I'm probably the youngest one in here. People just don't care no more.
Exactly.
You know, just don't, because I got a program, Nate Tubbs Group Home Amateur Boxing Program, where I talk to parents. I sent 15 years ago, I sent 6 kids to the service. 2 of them Navy SEALs today. And I argue back and forth with their moms. Daddies ain't never been around. And I'm like, your son can easily walk down the street and get shot. You know, at least he'll go here and try to be lucky enough to make a career out of it. These boys been in the service 17 years now today. My son got murdered 15 years ago, so my program been on hold. And speaking about God, you know, everybody justify things differently. Every situation is different. You know what I mean? I had struggles with God. I come from a God-fearing family, you know, because I did a lot of bad things in my past. You know, a lot of people don't know half the stuff I done done. A lot of people don't know I've been shot, ran over, stabbed twice. A lot of my own family don't know all that, because the things I did in 14 different states. And that's only because I was in a position and I knew people, mainly family members, you know, put me on a level that I could never believe that I was even on. Hell, a lot of people around me don't even know what level I was on until they start being involved, you know. But the point I'm trying to make is that when my son got killed, I had a brother get killed at 20 years old, was a good friend of his.
That's right.
You know, it made me a very violent person. You know, I turned into an animal since then. Being in the streets, I had a set of rules. And I came up around a bunch of gangsters and killers, you know. My rules was you can give a guy some money, he might not have to pay you. But you give a guy some merchandise, he got to pay you, ain't nobody gonna pay you. You know, first year I turned pro, I left some merchandise on the streets and didn't nobody pay me. I'm in training camp for 2 months, ain't nobody dropping off no money and nothing. So I'm like, I just told him, we gotta go back home, man. You know what I mean? I got something I gotta take care of. I go home and all the older guys was telling me to suck they private and this, and I say, I tell you what, 6 o'clock, don't nobody have my money, I'm gonna start making examples. One guy, 2 or 3 of them kind of lightweight ran the neighborhood of Walnut Hills, talking about Big Seymour in there. I get this man something that should have cost him $70,000, I get it to him for $50,000, he didn't give me $1. He laid on the car and told me to suck his private. And before I know it, I beat him with a baseball bat. You know, and guys my age was scared of him, you know what I mean? We hung around some good guys, but me being the guys in my age bracket, I was the one that was somehow a little bit tough. I would fight, you know what I mean? Then I had a big brother that got killed that could fight. So, you know, if I had problems, I never was the type to go get none, because I got 8 brothers, you know what I mean? I never went and got none of my brothers. But the point I'm trying to make is that trying to justify things is a little different because everybody's situation is different. The things I see now, you know, you go in people's houses over Avondale alone, you got more young kids on drugs. I don't know what they're putting in weed nowadays. These kids just live off weed. The parents encouraging them to do wrong. If they out there robbing somebody, stealing, whatever, it seems like the parents is encouraging them. You know, gas and electric need to be paid. They want the sons to go out there and get the money. Any means necessary. It just don't make no sense. So all I can say is they don't care, and we just got to continue praying.
Okay.
I made a choice last week that I'm gonna restart my program, see ones I can save. I asked City Hall last Wednesday, give me some finances, resources, and give me a gym in Avondale, and give me 18 months. I ain't gonna be able to save everybody, but I promise you, because the kids need to be shown different.
Yes, yes.
I know what boxing did for me. I've been in 9 different countries. I became champion in '93. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I know what boxing did to me. I'm sitting around, once my son got killed, it pulled me back over into that lifestyle because I had vengeance in my heart. I'm a vengeful person. I don't let stuff go. You know, I'll wait 10 years if I have to. I remember a friend of ours took some money from me. I was 12 or 13 years monk. I waited 7, 8 years. He came in to prove me one day and said, you owe me $14. He said, you know $14. I said, you took my $14. I told him the daytime and everything, and we got to fighting. And I couldn't hit that man for nothing in the world, so I got my walking tall stick. I chased him all that day until he gave me my $14, and we good friends today.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, just making a point where justifying things. Every situation is different. Every individual household is different. I done learned your life decisions depend on your household situation. I done seen situations where I done had partners of mine, man, my mama gas and electric don't getting turned off. The lady worked at the Surefire. I told her that's my buddy Tony's mama. We done paid her gas and electric multiple times. That's why they love me so much. Because your problem automatically becomes my problem. You know what I mean? And that's how we did things back then. Now, your own friend will make a phone call on you. He got $2,500. He'll send a robbery boy at you.
But let me say this. I'm sorry. And they were talking about the mind and how the mind works, and you know. But understand the fact that the mind can never, ever justify something that is wrong and make it right.
Okay.
The mind can tell you that it's right.
That's right.
But trust and believe. You can never take a wrong and make it right.
That's right. That's right.
It'll never be right.
Going back to him bringing, it's weird, him bringing about God in a religion. I never believed in God. From a kid to a man. I started believing in God when I was 45 and went to prison. I found out at your lowest, I've never been to jail. I did wrong all my life. I didn't get in trouble. And I didn't get there, he'd tell you a story, till I was 45 and went to prison before I ever got on my knees and prayed.
Okay.
So what I learned by not believing in God and looking at my life, I didn't know it, but it was a God protected me.
Okay.
So today, I know for a fact, can't nobody tell me there ain't a God, because I came from nothing and I didn't go to jail. I didn't smoke weed. And all my friends shot dope, OD, drank, and I was right there with them. And then when them ever tried to get me to do it, and my mind never thought about doing it.
That's right.
There ain't nobody but God. I'm talking, I'm 45 in the street all my life. So today, I just want to say that I know for a fact, from what I seen that I went through, coming up, no school, no education, and just learning from the street, I know there's a God.
Absolutely.
There's a God.
That is
Okay.
Testimony.
Or God's.
Tim?
God.
Yes,
But
God's.
I still say
brothers and
that
sisters.
Right.
from, I mean, he truck driver, boxer, police, army man, he worked some. I'm sitting here as old as all of y'all. I never had to work, never worked, never got high, never even thought about trying it. I know all of y'all done tried some drug. I have never. And I've been around shooters, smokers, and drinkers all my life. My mother was alcoholic. I never wanted to do it. I don't know why, but God had me for something.
Amen.
Never cursed in front of my parents.
All right.
Never cursed in front of my sisters.
Right. Right.
And when you're in a family with a bunch of sisters and brothers, and you don't curse, and you got them young and older, something in you is different.
Yes, indeed.
Is the word weird?
Oh.
No, that's an inside joke. That's an inside joke.
Tim, did you have a comment?
Well, being a Navy vet, and I'll take it and put it this way. there is a God, because I have smoked, snorted, and dropped the best drugs in the world, and I still got my mind.
Come on.
Okay.
In every country in the Pacific. And I've taken the acid in Japan. I've smoked the Buddha. I've smoked the ganja. I've taken the Xeroxes. I've snorted Peru. Thailand.
Yeah.
And I've smoked the Pakistani Afghan hash and the opium and all of that. And it was basically a James Brown thing. You got to hit it and quit it.
That's right. That's
I hit it, I experienced it, and I quit it. I've watched guys come across the quarterdeck turn blue.
That's right.
I've watched guys stand on the fantail, be so high they fall off. So, at one time, I had a lot of cocaine. And I got it from Thailand, fresh off the donkey's butt. Man hitting the donkey with the bamboo stick coming down out the trail. In 1977, I couldn't come home because I had lost so much weight because I didn't share.
Yeah.
I did the whole thing. The whole thing. And I didn't want at that particular time, I didn't want my wife to see me. I ain't want my father to see me. I ain't want my sisters to see me. I was like, ooh-wee.
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 They call it
what
a hot
have
mess
you
back
done to
then.
yourself? So in 1977, I gave all that up.
Blessing.
I gave all of that
Absolute.
up. Now, I do like bourbon.
That's from the dad.
Yeah, I do like my bourbon. I like my
I
bourbon.
do too.
But that's the only vice I really had besides cigarettes. But the rest of the drugs, no. And I've seen quite a few of my friends and a lot of my classmates, a lot of our classmates.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of funerals. And they still out there trying to get that 1974, 75 high. Still, they chase that high to the very end. And it's frightening, but it's also educational.
Okay.
It's amazing how we isolate ourselves when
Yeah.
we get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah.
How we isolate ourselves from our families,
Oh,
from
yeah.
our support systems. You know, we hide, we run. You know, we make excuses
I
for
didn't
not
hide.
being there.
I didn't hide, I just didn't want them to see me.
Of course you didn't.
I had to get it together.
Yeah, because you know that your father would have kicked your butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, see, there's certain things that we do know, the consequences, and that's the thing that we have to understand and cannot forget, and we need to speak on the consequences that we do know,
Right.
but the wrong we choose to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Justify.
yeah,
Wrong that
exactly.
we
Because in the
justify.
first doggone place, just like I said, I chose to do the wrong I did.
Yeah,
I was not no follower, never been no follower. I chose to do what I do very consciously. Okay? But only thing I can sit up there and say to that, in spite of me, and I have to say this what my mother said. My mother said, your blessings are your blessings. Only you can block them,
Or you can receive them.
and my man.
That's
Do
right.
you think these young people are justifying the wrong by thinking what they're doing is, is necessary or right in some
I
way?
think what I really think about this is it's not so much the kids, because I don't look at the kids. I look at the parents, the grandparents, and the great grandparents, because that's where it started from. That's where it started from. And this is up there. They're just up there. They're the victims.
They are.
They're the victims.
At this
Today.
stage, you're right.
Exactly.
You're right. Absolutely. At
Because
this
the
stage,
generation
you're right.
don't
Exactly.
That's right.
Because we have
That's right.
three. We
That's
have
right.
clearly three, almost four
That's
generations.
right.
I call it
That's right.
goofiness.
That's right. You're right, Brock. You're right.
This is when we stop being responsible, stop
Absolutely.
being responsible to each other. Family is not always blood.
Right. That's right. Right.
is family.
Family is
That's
built.
right. That's right.
You know, because I consider these guys my family.
Yes,
I
right.
like that.
I'm just going back to what you said about the choices.
Yes.
Right.
And we have some problems, especially young people,
Yeah.
decision making.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
the biggest problem is that lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, parents sit around, you know, they followers.
Yeah.
You see, you know, I come from my mom and dad went to work every day. You know, my daddy took me and my brother to work, and we showed enough didn't show up no more. And, you know, he doing bricklaying. That stuff was some hard work for, you know, a guy that don't do that stuff. You know? But my point is, the kids nowadays is very disrespectful.
Oh, God.
Okay.
You know, they don't respect their parents no more because they don't see them doing nothing.
Right.
If you got, you know, I never was in a household where my mama didn't get up. She had kids and went to work. She have a baby and go to work 3 days later. For 26 years, you know what I mean? And it's a situation where kids don't respect you, and the parents laying around, different men in and out the house, you know what I mean? And they don't understand. Kids do what they see you do.
It's hard to discipline a child.
They don't see you doing nothing, they ain't gonna do
You ain't
nothing.
But Don made a point earlier, and he said one of the issues, and it's not just our neighborhood, but
Right.
it's apparent
Right.
that used to be generations was 20 years.
Right.
Okay, now it may be 15, and in some cases,
if you look
know,
at
you got
That's
kids
right. You're right.
raising
You're right.
kids.
Right.
You're right.
No,
You're
Don
right.
made that point, and
Yeah.
when he made it, and I was listening, I was like, and it didn't get heard, and I wanted you to elaborate just a little bit more on that because you made that point, Don.
Yeah, well, basically, like he just said, you know, it's babies raising babies. You know, these young ladies, for whatever reason, and Lord knows, to me, they are the answer. The answer's not in the young men. The answer's in the young ladies. If we educate them to the point that they no longer want that zero that calls itself a hero.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they raise their standards and what they will accept from a young man.
Right.
That young man will change.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I
I'm an
definitely
example.
agree.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I can tell you this.
Yes.
As was told to me, if you want something good, be something good.
Okay. Okay.
You know, so if you want your daughters to succeed, because most daughters, when they're looking for that mate, the first person they think about, if he's anything
Like my
about
daddy.
anything, is their father.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
That is
Their
so
fathers.
profound.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're not a father,
Right.
or a good father,
That's right.
or a nurturing father to the young females,
But I think
you perpetuate the cycle.
that's where the education need to be put real seriously with these young ladies. I saw a video
Right.
not 2 days ago where a young lady was on YouTube. She didn't have any makeup on,
Okay.
and she was speaking to other young ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that she came to a realization that makeup, the wigs, the long eyelashes, she says the young men that's out there, the good young men that's looking for wives, they're not looking for that girl.
I saw that video.
You saw it?
Yeah, I saw that. Yes.
And she
yes.
says, if they're not looking for it, then why are we doing it?
There you go. There
Why
you
Like I said
go.
about the competition.
Yeah,
There you
why
go.
are we
Exactly.
doing it?
Exactly.
And she says, apparently, we're doing it to look good to other females.
That's right.
believe
That's
like
right.
in
That's what you're looking
competition.
good for.
Yeah,
Right.
we're looking
in
good,
competition.
Right.
putting all the makeup on, fancy eyelashes and all
Yeah.
this, to look
Yeah.
good for other
Right.
females because the good men
Ain't looking.
ain't looking. They don't want that.
So on
Right.
top of that, I'm competing for another zero.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know, guys, unfortunately, our time is up. I had bunches of more questions, and you know, I think
wanted to show these
we will be doing this
pictures.
again. We will
Yeah,
continue
we
this conversation or conversations like this
Right.
with you and others. I just want to thank you, and you know, one number that came up. We talked about the number. How many veterans are in here? This small.
1, 2, 3. Oh my God, no, that's serious. They've been disciplined.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we got veterans though
Yes,
who have
indeed.
done
5 out of
things
7.
again for
Ooh-wee.
this country, who have done things for this country as veterans and haven't been reciprocated.
I agree.
Have not been reciprocated.
I agree.
But I just want to say you guys are amazing. It's just been such a privilege. I can speak for me. It's just
Oh, I
been
can
a
speak
privilege for us
Yes.
to have worked with you. We will continue to work with you. For you to let us in and share and make yourselves available. It's just been awesome. I want to thank you. But before we wrap up,
All I can say to all of you, to God be the glory.
Thank you.
To God be the glory.
Thank you.
The glory
Because
is his.
That's who gets it. That's who gets
this
it.
has been for me profound. I came up with a daddy and a whole bunch of Kentucky people, men that shot people, animals, and me too. And this I felt was mandatory, that the public hear your story. There has to be a shift, and I believe it's coming. I believe in the way I believe in the Creator Himself. This is going to be righted, but you have to continue to sing your story. I've come under a lot of pressure over the years because of the story I've sang on black people and black men.
Okay.
The veterans events. They wanted to know why it was all black. And I said, because you all never did us right. With veteran benefits and housing money, you didn't do right. And so we have to sing our own song. That's
right.
what I'm saying to you. We have to dialogue
God be the glory.
with each other. This is God. And I'm grateful for DATV for, again, allowing the platform. Because you're not going to hear this elsewhere. This is their commitment to that vision that me and Bari had. And so I want to thank all of you. And yes, we will continue to do this more.
All right.
If you don't mind the drive.
That's right. Don't mind the drive.
I mean, we'll give you some
Well,
water.
God doing the driving, we just riding along.
Y'all riding along.
That's right.
I still want to
That's
thank
right.
you all so very much for your patience and for being transparent and continue to tell the story, not just with each other, but to let other people in on the story, because this show is going to go national.
Okay.
That's my commitment.
Right.
Okay.
And we want
Thank
to
you,
hear
Michelle.
from you ongoing.
Okay.
We want to know that I love you, I support you, and no, I may be the money lady, Brother Bo. Brother Bo. But I don't have all the money.
What you say?
Huh?
I love you too, and ain't nothing you can do about it.
That's exactly how it is. So we thank all of you, our viewers, our listeners, those of you that are supporters for this town meeting with our guests.
Yes.
And we look forward to being in communication with you and following up with you very, very soon. To all of you, may I send peace, love, and always the blessings of God. You take care and talk to you soon.
All right.